Hey guys, this episode of the Smoking Tire Podcast is brought to you by Beeline Coffee. They're the official beverage of the Smoking Tire Podcast, and not only that, it's just delicious coffee. If you're like me, the average everyday roast will not do. I mean, it will if someone's serving it. I'm not an asshole. But at home, I drink the good stuff. Reward yourself. It's not that you need to be draping yourself in diamonds, but a fine cup of coffee is a luxury worth having every day. And Beeline Coffee's got you covered. There's a bunch of different roasts they have. They have an espresso roast. They have a decaf. They have several delicious single origin as well as blended roasts. They've even got the Smoking Tire Roast is going on right now, which has been developed, co-developed by me in terms of a delicious flavor that many coffee nerds have been drinking to delight. I want to shout out to someone I saw while recording this episode. There was a guy working on repairing a scooter on the side of the road in front of Bring a Trailer's offices in San Francisco, and he was repairing this scooter while drinking the Smoking Tire Roast from Beeline Coffee, and he came up to me just to tell me how much he liked the coffee. So I forget your name, but shout out to Scooter Repair Guy who was drinking Beeline Coffee and enjoying it while he worked. Use code TST to get 15% off your entire order, no matter how big or small, at BeelineCoffee.com. How about Dylan Optics? Those sweet sunglasses I'm wearing all the time. They are comfortable on your face. They come in different frame sizes, and the NIR lens technology means that if you're out on a long day in the sun, whether you're driving, working, doing water related activities, or you're just at the beach, Dylan Optics will keep your eyes fresh for the end of that long day in the harsh sun. The NIR lens technology is really, really great polarization. Upside, it looks like HD life. Downside, sometimes you can't see heads-up displays in cars such as the BMW M6. It is a trade-off, folks. But Dylan Optics they're really good. I've been wearing them for almost 10 years now. I can't believe it. Go to thesmokingtire.com and click on the Partners tab. And if you do that and go to DylanOptics.com that way, rather than just going to the regular site, I will send you a free Smoking Tire t-shirt for every pair of Dylan Optics sunglasses that you order. They got plastic frames, they got metal frames, and they have these cool matte finish lenses that I love in about 6 different colors. So you can customize your pair just for you. Okay, let's get into it. This episode of the podcast, I recorded on location in the Mission District of San Francisco with Mr. Randy Nonnenberg, who is the founder and CEO of Bring a Trailer, a website that I have wasted many hours on. I've sold cars on Bring a Trailer. I haven't bought anything, although I have bid before. And Randy is a super interesting guy and has a really good insight into sports car markets and what the future could look like for collector cars. So the sound quality isn't great. Like I said, we recorded it in Bring a Trailer, which is like a warehouse and not in our studio. So bear with us, but it's other than being a little bit echoey, it's solid and it's really interesting conversation. So enjoy this episode of the Smoking Tire Podcast. Here it is. Mm-hmm. This is Bring a Trailer. What's up, guys? Welcome to the Mission District, San Francisco. Cheers. Mr. Randy Nonnenberg, founder and, is it CEO?
Yes.
CEO of Bring a Trailer. How you doing, man?
Good, doing well. Happy to have you back. This is your second time.
It is my second time, and things are different. Things are very different.
The cars are different.
The cars are different, and the office is upstairs. When I was here in 2015... There were 2 desks with your 63 Corvette. Mm-hmm. There were 2 desks, and now there are 8 desks.
Yep.
That's crazy.
Yep.
In 3 years, we have quadrupled the number of desks in your office.
Mm-hmm. 9 of us upstairs, and we're hiring more. And
you're now out of room. You can really put no more desks upstairs.
Yeah, we'll probably be here for maybe another year, and then we're looking for other places to move.
Wow. Good time to look at San Francisco real estate.
Progress. Yeah, well, that's the downside. The upside is we're outgrowing, and we're outgrowing our space, and the website's growing. But the downside is we got to find a new spot.
Yeah, it's not not the worst problem to have. Success, right? It's crazy what's happened with, like, so Randy was on the show before, and we talked about the beginnings of Bring a Trailer. I actually today wanted to be a little more contemporary, and sort of talk about what's happened since you were last on the show, which is. I think you had just launched auctions when I was here?
Yeah, we launched them summer 2014, and they started super slow. So by even Christmas and then spring 2015, which is when we got together, I think we were doing 10 cars a week.
And now is
like
it
that.
like 100 a week?
125.
125 a week?
Yeah.
And you guys write all of them.
We do. We craft the listing. I mean, some sellers write the whole thing and they're totally into it.
Or there's some people that really fancy themselves.
Well, and some, I mean, frankly, some fancy themselves. Some are legit journalists and want to do the whole deal. But most people come to us and are like, "Can you do everything? We need you to do everything," and that's what our service provides.
When you guys wrote mine, I was very happy with how it came out. I sold my DeLorean on Bring a Trailer, and it was lovely. I had a great experience selling it.
I remember selling it to Europe, right?
It was, to Germany, to Bavaria, to a guy who is very happy with the car, loves the car. Fans have spotted it in Germany.
Oh, really?
Apparently, he drives it with the California plates still on it.
Awesome.
Which is a cool thing to do over there.
And a crime.
Probably a crime. Yeah. But I think everyone loves a DeLorean, even a German cop. The most serious person on a German cop, they still love it. But and I know that he had no idea who I was because he sent me lederhosen. Which was so nice of him, but they were a size medium. So I was like, I know you don't know who I am. It was very funny. But the guy was stoked on it. It was such a good, because it's a community, right? And it's not just a, you're basically putting out editorials almost on the cars.
Yep. I mean, we keep it super factual, but it's in long form. It's we get the best photos we can and different sorts of stuff. So a lot of the individual listings, come off as like an article about the car. Almost.
Right. Yeah. And also, every listing inspires, some commenter to tell their crazy, emotional story about. You guys should do like a cartoon, like an animations, department where you take the best commenter stories and turn them into like a little cartoon or something. Like
some of them are characters, they're worthy of their own, romance novel or cartoon or tabloid or whatever, right?
Yeah. Do you guys? When you see, are there any commenters? And I don't want you to throw them under the bus by name, but are there some commenters where you see the name pop up in the feed, you go, oh god, here we go.
We have to keep track of a few things,
really?
Right? Well, different sorts of people.
Have you banned people?
Obviously, we have to keep the level at a certain, degree of civility. I mean, there's rules. It's not total Wild West, right? Otherwise,
otherwise
YouTube
Reddit.
Comments, right? Or Reddit, right? I mean,
otherwise it'd be YouTube. I'd say no. Reddit has gotten better. The YouTube is still.
It's pretty crazy, right?
It's definitely the Wild West.
We try to keep it what we call constructive, right?
Yeah.
So it's like you can be funny, you can be, tell your story about when you were a kid with a DeLorean. That's still on topic, but if you veer off into Trump, Putin, or whatever, it's like that's not going to happen.
But what if you're selling a Russian car? Then it becomes then there's some leeway.
That's why we have people upstairs. That's why we need a staff.
There's an editorial board upstairs. There's what are if you look back in the last few years, what is like? Have there been a couple of auctions that you've sort of personally kind of followed along with the interest where you're like, wow, I can't believe not just the selling price, but the narrative that is crafted because of the auction where you go, wow, I can't believe that just happened.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, sometimes there's the quality of the car, which really stands out. Sometimes there's the quality of the seller that stands out. Sometimes there's like a backstory, a history, a whatever. I mean, the one, we do a sort of popularity contest at the end of every year. The story of the year. Yeah, we give some people some pats on the back for that. And, I mean, the one last year is this old lady that kept her
the vet
Corvette
forever
until 2017, and then she finally
she
sells
bought
it, right?
brand new in 58 or
she bought
60.
She's got pictures of her washing it in her same driveway in Texas, the whole day. I mean, that sort of stuff, people just love.
That's incredible.
And
I think
it's pretty cool.
$75,000 or something like that.
Yeah, it got a pretty good number, and she had a local dealer help her because she was not super tech literate, and then but she was psyched to sell it, and she was excited about BAT, and the person who bought it also went to Europe, interestingly. And then the success story after that, like the readership is just psyched on it, right?
Yeah,
because
no, it's unbelievable.
Stories like that are and then she went out and bought a new Porsche. Did you see that?
Yeah, she got a brand new Carrera with the money, right? Because actually, I think I read in the article that she wanted the Corvette because she couldn't afford a 356 or something.
Back then,
right? Yeah,
back then,
yeah,
right?
Yeah.
But then now she goes out and buys a Porsche, whatever Carrera or whatever it is.
I like this lady.
Yeah.
It's gangster.
So
it's a very good story.
Yeah, cool,
that stood out.
So that stands out. But then high dollar ones stand out. Everybody always asks, like, what's the most expensive car on BAT, right? So big 6-figure and
is there anything gone over $1 million yet?
A car got bid to over $1 million, but it didn't sell, so it didn't meet reserve. So the biggest sale that was like a Lancia, a special
Pebble Beach
B24,
car. Yeah,
that kind of vintage Lancia.
Oh yes, no sale at like $1.1 million or something,
there you
right?
go.
Yeah,
you were paying attention, right?
Dude, I'm daily. I
love it.
I go to the analytics. I watch it all.
Cool,
I read a sports
stuff.
car market on the plane up here yesterday.
There you go.
Which actually, credit to those guys. That's a fantastic publication.
Yeah,
sports
they do a good
car
job
market.
tracking stuff.
Oh, continue.
So but people ask. We go back to the highest one that transacted, which was a Toyota 2000 GT.
2000 GT,
560K.
Yeah,
bunch of
it's
money.
actually pretty low for a GT, isn't it?
Well, they had that huge run up, and everybody got all excited that they're seven-figure cars.
And then it was like,
and then
boom!
that same one that set the peak was sold like a year and a half later for like 8 or whatever.
Oh my God, that was a whoa.
I think the red
two
one,
of them get over $1 million.
I think so.
And then they haven't crossed like 700.
Then everybody's
since,
like, I'm going to sell mine, right?
Yeah.
So there were 10 of them.
Do you find that happens, right? When you get one big hit.
DeLoreans, man. You did the DeLorean, and then like we get 10 DeLoreans submitted, and they all want your number.
None of them are going to get it. None of them. You know where 2 DeLoreans did get my number was actually at Scottsdale.
Super low mile.
Super low miles.
Yeah.
Low miles couldn't drive it. Low miles.
Yeah.
Which.
Yeah.
DeLoreans, I was just talking about this. DeLoreans, I find, are right at the beginning of speculated from new. Mm-hmm. There's not a lot of cars older than DeLoreans, except some of those weird Corvettes, pace cars and stuff.
Totally. And
DeLoreans,
Porsches, people are
there
obviously.
was a bunch of speculated from new DeLoreans, and so there's a bunch of sculptures you can buy for $60,000.
And some people who bought them new were just weirdos, right? Who just bought them and put them in their garage and weren't even interested in driving it, but it was such a bizarre piece.
I think I just said it on someone else's podcast, but a DeLorean is best experienced from 3 feet away. And
park it at your Palm Springs house and it looks cool.
Yeah. I replaced mine with a painting of it, and I don't feel like I have missed.
The experience is better.
It's better. It's in my bedroom. I wake up in the morning and go, that was mine. and then I get in my normal car and drive away.
It's funny.
DeLoreans and I thought gull wings were going to come back down, but it seems they've actually kept the first one to cross $1 million. It was like every gull wing goes on the block too. Yeah, but I found one of the most interesting bring a trailer auctions recently was that Stratos, which everyone loves a Stratos,
which ended up in LA. I don't know if you've seen it around.
I haven't.
That dude sent us photos of it on PCH.
I did not.
Driving. It's going to be.
He lives
around.
in LA. Oh, that's gangster. I got to find him. I drove a Stratos and it was very cool, but I drove it in not the correct environment, and so I don't think I really got to appreciate it.
Is that in Florida when you drove a bunch of cars in Florida?
Yeah, driving anything in Florida sucks. I mean, there's nothing. What do you do unless you got a racetrack in Florida?
Yeah.
But I think what's great about that is a car that is almost too valuable to drive, and here's a guy who bought it to drive, right? That's a real fantasy. It's like using the Speedster as a daily, treating something that is historically special just as a car.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
And that one's pretty esoteric, right? I mean, a Lancia Stratos is like super unusual. Most people have never even seen one live and that sort of thing. So I was actually kind of surprised at how much traction that got. I mean, the commenting community was nuts for it. They were like totally into it, which I was excited about. Yeah. So that one did really well.
What do you have you seen any real heavy trends recently? What are you seeing in the last 6 months? What not? You don't have to give me your necessarily specific buy sell predictions.
It's not secret. I mean, thankfully, most of it's super public on the site, right?
Yeah,
so
if you
dig deep enough, you can find all sorts of trends.
Yeah, just real quick before you even talk about that, how does someone who might want to seek out trends for themselves or try and find the next one, like what tools would they use on Bring a Trailer to do that?
Good question. So you were asking like what's new since we circled up, whatever, in 2015. So one of the biggest things was middle of last year, we launched what we call model pages. So you go in and type in DeLorean, you go in and type in 240Z, you go in and type in Porsche 964, any of these sort of things, and it shows you a scatter chart and all the results that have ever happened on BAT of that model. So it's not like, on eBay, you want to know what happens, whatever, but it's gone. It kind of gets erased, or you can't find the
they only hold on to it for a little while.
They purge things, right, for storage or for security or for whatever. But I think it's really important to have sort of a historical trend of everything that's ever happened on BAT for comments, for cars, for bids. So that shows trends. So people can go to BAT, and in the search box, you just type in, pick a model, right? We've done, I think, almost 300 of the most popular models so far. So it's like a ton of stuff.
I mean, it's in pretty much everything.
We're starting to get to everything, right? There's always more and more fringe stuff.
But if you've got 2 sales over,
right. Well, even the Stratos, which is amazing. Like, we've only got one of those, right?
There's not a dot.
There's not 80 of them.
Just an L with a dot.
Here's what they're worth. Exactly. No debate.
What did that one end up getting?
So 4 something.
4 something?
Yeah.
That seems like fair money for that car, actually.
Yeah,
that's about right.
That was not like a trophy restored car. That was like a nice presentable driver. Yeah, I think so. At least, right? So
where the fuck do you get parts for a Stratos? Oh my god!
Not in the U.S.
Imagine getting a rock chip in your windshield. No.
Yeah,
it's probably a quarter of the value of the car. That windshield. It's got to be 50, 60 grand to get one of those windshields.
No, not that much.
To get a Stratos windshield.
I'll buy one. I'll sell it to you for 60 grand. I think I could make a little margin on it. But no, it's probably the pain of finding it would feel worse than that.
All right. So what are the big revelations using the Bring a Trailer plotting tool?
Yeah. So looking at that, I mean, first of all, the volume. There's some cars that are like volume, E28 BMWs, and like I said, 964s and mid-year 911s from the 80s, right? Big bumper cars, and 912s have been super interesting lately.
Dude,
people
what's
are
with
paying
912s?
So much cash.
Someone, a commenter asked about the 912s.
Yeah.
And
but we'll list them because buyers are so hungry for those. When I started BAT, I wrote some articles that were super amateur. The whole thing was super amateur. But in 2007, 8, 9, I wrote a quick one look at this 912. Why the heck is this $20K? People are paying $20K for 912s. This is madness.
Yeah.
Buy a ratty 911 instead. That whole pitch. And now, I mean, look at the curve on 912s on BAT. I mean, people are spending routinely 40 and 50 grand, and the good ones are getting 60 and 70K.
This is so insane.
It's crazy.
So is it that there are too many rich people? It's that there is no faith in financial institutions, or so people are grasping onto anything physical? Because have you driven a 912?
I have.
There are maybe 3 912s on the planet worth 60 grand, right?
To you and me, man. Go look at the dots on the chart.
Those things suck. Those things suck. Don't you personally don't you spend money based on a driving experience? Go, the experience of driving this speedster is worth and that's what I will pay for it. Okay, what is the experience of driving a 912?
Well, some people, myself included, just wish it was a 911 the whole time.
Right.
So, I mean, if you're in that camp, that's kind of hard to get over. But, I mean, sitting in it at a light, I mean, it has 99% of the 911 deal, right? But once you get rolling, it's a different ballgame.
If you're deaf.
If
you can hear, the difference is readily apparent.
I'm with you. Sounds like a 356. Sounds like there's a bug idling behind you.
A 912's fun if the only Porsche you've ever driven is an 04 V6 Cayenne.
Okay. Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Right.
But my whole argument is, I mean, a lot of people want the early 911 or early Porsche, but feel like 911s have run away, right? There's a lot of people rightfully who are like, I'm not going to go pay $100K for a 911T or whatever, right? No. Which is madness as well.
One of those got 300 grand in Scottsdale.
Right.
It had no miles, but it was still like, whoa.
So by the contrast there, I mean, if that's never going to happen, then you go 912. It always trickles down, right? Why do people buy 914s, right?
Because rising tide lifts all boats. But do you ever find that, so the rising tide lifts all boats, but look at Mercedes 190 SLs.
Okay.
Mercedes SLs went from, at least in my anecdotal evidence, your plots may say different, but for me, SLs 190s went from 50, and then when the 300 crossed a million, they went to 250, and then a bunch of people bought them and drove them, and now they're back to 50, or like 75, 80, they've settled at. Where it's like, hang on a minute, this is not $250,000 experience, right? So do you see that happening with 912s?
I think that's smart to watch that. I don't know. We'll see if 912s come back. If 911s, they'll always be at like 50 to 60% of a 911, right?
Right.
So if 911s keep keep running or stay
Yeah.
stable, there's no reason they'll pull back. They'll just say, it's people. It's that relativity, I think, is part of what drives it.
Yeah. Do you think the 911 owner, in general, is like more or less like the buyer of the vintage 911? Is that like a super wealthy guy that really wants the best? Like, you know what I mean? Who's the buyer of those cars right now?
I mean, they're drivers' cars, right?
They're
I mean,
all
this
drivers.
weekend there's a Porsche driving event going on in Austin.
Yeah.
I had a '72 red one. We sold it on the site. I had lights on the hood. I don't know if you
Rallied out,
remember it.
right?
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah.
Kind of rallied out. And a cool guy in Texas bought it, and he's driving it, and he's Instagramming it, and he's going on this event. So he's younger than I am, right?
Yeah.
So I mean, there's a good. It's not like rich guy car only. I feel like if you. I feel like
I don't
you
know
can
why
get.
I said that. I feel like it's not true.
You can get an okay one for 50 to 60, right? Which is a lot of money for
It's
a
a
car.
lot of money
but
for
it's,
something that's okay.
Yeah, but it's an early Porsche. And
Yeah.
now all these people will bow at your feet because you have an early Porsche of any type.
I know.
911T.
I know. I got an 87.
Everything.
People love my 87.
Totally. People go nuts
People
for
are
it, right?
all about it.
Yeah, I think those cars are a better deal than the early.
My
cars, right?
my 87, like,
neither.
and I was watching Bring a Trailer, and there have been two similar comps recently.
Interesting.
There was a brown that was heinous. I mean,
When we were kids, brown was like off
brown
limits,
was-
right.
yeah.
That was the worst.
Dude,
like, don't
this-
even go near
this
it.
brown
But now,
was brutal.
No, but now
this is-
people love
I know.
that, right?
And there was a Guards Red,
Okay.
and both of them had way more miles than my car,
Mm-hmm.
and both of them went for way more money than my car, which made me feel really good.
Okay, well,
but
that's good.
the late 80s
you
cars
snuck in
are where
and,
it's at.
got your car. We know that.
Yeah.
right? You got a fair deal on that.
Yeah, we can
I saw
thank,
it. I
we
saw
can
it when we
thank
were in
the
LA.
bad photographer.
Yep.
Who was trying.
Yep.
The sweet man with poor camera skills who was selling that thing.
Yep.
Sometimes you win. I've had my ass handed to me, so it goes both ways.
Yep.
Do you see, like, in your audience? Are you? I mean, I don't know if you track the data much, but do you see? Is your audience's demo older, younger?
It spans, right? I mean, if you look at the types of cars on the site, right? Like, we have a lot of heat in like Integra Type Rs, right?
Right.
And those aren't
They're on fire.
Those aren't 70-year-old dudes buying those cars typically, right?
70-year-old selling the good ones. Though.
Maybe.
Yeah. 70-year-old one.
If you could find that,
The guy who
that's
bought
a
it
good deal.
new at 50 and
Yeah.
is now selling it stock at 70.
Not a lot of 50-year-olds bought those new, though, right?
But there's a couple. Old
Yeah.
white guy at the track day, you got to look out for that guy. Right?
So, I mean, we got cars like that have a lot of, that's one of our most commonly searched terms.
Integra Type R.
Integra Type R, which is because we've sold, like, where do you go to find those? There's like a forum for them.
Yeah,
but other than that, it's BAT, right?
Yeah,
I mean, there's
true.
a ton.
Or eBay, I guess.
So, but then we've got, 60s muscle, right? So,
Right.
I mean, the demographic is as broad as the types of crazy cars. So we don't skew way old. We skew a little younger because we're sort of tech-based, right? So that pulls it down off of, like, Auto Trader classics and like
Right.
paper classifieds and
Yeah.
like Good Guys Show.
Can you
and stuff
believe
like
people
that.
are still doing like
Some people
paper
are.
classics, classified?
Some people are.
Someone just put. I was just reading Sports Car Market. I was saying, but I was reading it. I like their commentary, their editorials on the in-person auction results.
Yep.
But someone in the back was selling a car, and they only get 30
8 words. Yeah, totally.
And 4 of the words were featured in smoking tire video. And it's
Nice.
nice, but you can't put a link there. Like, what are they supposed to do?
And that's all he's got. It's the year, make, model, featured in Smoking Tire.
1982 Porsche 930 slant nose, featured in
Phone number.
smoking tire.
Yeah. Please call me on my landline. Right?
Facts.
Yes. Yes. So that's certainly the old way.
Porsche,
but-
bro, air cooled, but keep it analog.
Yeah. So we skew a little bit younger based on technology and over half our traffic's on mobile, right?
Right,
I'm sure yours
right,
is and
yeah.
that sort of stuff. So, but it's a broad range. We're not like 30 to 38, right?
Do you find
We're
it's
like
weird
the whole
that in person the auctions are jammed packed with old people and no young people buy at the auctions? I mean, granted, a lot of the prices are higher,
Yeah.
but even on the Thursdays and stuff, it's not like you see young people buying classics there. Do you think the Bring a Trailer seal of approval makes it more, I don't know, do you feel safer buying something online listed on Bring a Trailer than going to the inspection day at an in-person auction and buying it?
I think that, I mean, we're doing everything we can on BAT to make it as transparent as possible, right? So more pictures. Good, like, look at your Porsche ad on Craigslist or whatever. Like, no murky photos. Like more
Some people are
description.
gangster with their pictures.
Some people do. I mean, they are rewarded for it, right?
There was a green, like a Mach 1 Mustang, 69.
You saw that?
Woo! That guy could take a picture.
Good photos.
Yeah.
So that helps. And if people are like, hey, I don't know what the heck I'm doing, we can provide them with a resource for a local photographer, like anywhere in the country and stuff like that. So we're doing everything we can to increase the transparency, and that ends up with bidders that are more confident and ready to go. You know,
it's louder than you. And I'm trying to.
Oh, you are. Okay.
This is my analog compensation. It's just moving it towards you.
So I mean, comparing us to a live auction, it's a very different environment. Like you say, there's not a lot of young people there. Young people grew up with a lot of digital adoption and car shows, as you know, in a young demographic struggles. Like most car shows that are like stand around Cars and Coffee is a little different, but like
we're in California, we're spoiled. It's not like everywhere else.
Yeah, but I mean, you've been to Bear Jackson or whatever, right? Like hanging out in those. It's a very different demographic, right? And so we think that what we're doing online, if we can provide a level of confidence that is as high as being there, minus all the neon lights, sure, but the confidence level is as high, then we think we got the better avenue.
Do you get a lot of people coming back to you complaining if something is not as presented?
We ask them to. Yeah, we solicit feedback.
And do they?
Yeah, here and there. I mean, some people will be like, I wish he provided a photo of the passenger seat because there's a tear in the interior.
Oh,
or
really?
People will say... people will just have different sorts of questions. I mean, it's the car buying and selling world, right? Which has like 10,000 ways to go wrong in every deal. Yeah. So we try to provide support while at the same time educating people that like this is between you and the buyer. Like, let's figure out how you guys can come to a solution. And we're sort of neutral party, but we try to assist every way we can.
Have you ever seen someone like totally get burned and had to really get in there and resolve it with like a legal situation? Or like
it's never resulted in a. I mean, people threaten crazy things, as you well know, right? But people sometimes you try to use that as sort of a stick, and sometimes that works and sometimes it doesn't. It's sort of people's approach, but never with us. It's never, I mean, we've never, knock on wood, been litigated that it was our issue, because we try to, like I say, educate people up front. This is how it works. This is how you need to talk to one another. I mean, half the time it's like a counseling role. It's like, be cool, talk to this person, ask a couple questions, get the paperwork, and it'll end up okay, right? And some people like start hyperventilating when they win, right? Because it's like panic mode. What do I do? I mean, more often we get stuff like, my wife, if she finds out, I'm busted, like different sorts of stuff.
Oh, like I was bidding as a goof and now I've won?
I mean, people try that stuff, right? And so we, again, there's education. No, but I'm serious, man. I mean, there's education where it's like, look, here's what happened. Here's what you agreed to. We need to follow through. Here's how you're going to talk to him. So sometimes we get into the marriage counselor role, which is drama, and I wish we didn't have to. But you know what?
You earn your 5%.
As long as we're cool and we're trying to be helpful, and more importantly, that we provide a quality product up front. Like if somebody.
Street sweeping
day in San Francisco. Sorry, a little background noise. But
it's the real world, bro.
As long as we are up front, import tuner night is also
hot import nights outside as well.
So as long as we are trying to provide a super quality product up front, it solves like 90% of this, right? Like how much, like when you buy a car on eBay and you don't know stuff, and then the guy's a liar, and then the money goes to Africa and all that stuff. I mean, we've solved a ton of it. Can we ever solve 100% of a buyer and a seller hating each other for some reason? It's really difficult to solve that personality part, but we do. We really go far to try to make it as high quality experience as possible.
So do you, if you go all right, series of questions you can answer.
No, they're good questions. I love
questions. Number one is, you have increased the output of auctions to 125 a week. At a certain point, do you fall off a cliff in terms of what the audience can absorb in terms of the number of auctions, and you start to see sale prices go down as cars get missed and or forgotten about?
Yeah, that's a good question. That's our big challenge from basically middle of last year going forward, because we saw it coming, right? I mean, the numbers are going up, the submissions are going up. The product really works, so everybody all of a sudden wants to use it, right?
Yeah.
So, but if it went from 100 now to 300 in like 2 weeks, first of all, everybody would recoil and be like, whoa. Right. And second of all, you'd miss stuff, right? So we are coming up with some technology answers for that. We're coming up with some navigational answers for that, like how you can discover things and how doing more work to figure out what Matt Farah likes and looks at a lot. So we're going to start to, do you need to see every Chevy Apache pickup that comes up? Maybe, maybe not. So like predictive, customized things. Obviously, you've probably seen the ability for you to engage and sort of watch the stuff you like or tag it or different sorts of stuff.
Yeah, that feature helps.
There'll be different things that will help people narrow the field a little bit, but there will also, the magic of BAT that I've always thought was the coolest part of it is the variety, right?
Yeah.
So just because you have a mid-year Porsche, I don't want to only send you those because the whole coolness of the craziness of this garage
I like click on the stuff I've never seen before.
Weirdo stuff, right? So that's a technological problem. That's a sort of human factors problem, and so we're investing heavily in that to make sure it doesn't get vanilla or doesn't get like you log into BAT and we're like, hey, 1,000 cars this week, right? And you're like, whoa, I'm gonna go to the beach because I can't handle this, right?
Yeah.
So we don't want it to go that way, and we don't want it to lose that specialness because not only would it then not be as cool, but I think the model sort of falls apart at that point. So we got to guard it, right? And so we turn away cars. People are shocked and angry when we're like, sorry, we're not going to list that car.
We've had way too many.
Or the price is too high, or I know your brother's got the title in transit, but like we're not going to list that, right? And so nobody wants to hear you can't list your car on an internet site. Like most people are like,
what do you mean?
There's not limited I have Comcast. I can go on any internet site, right? And so we have to handle that carefully, right? What we accept, and the curation part of it is super important. So
in the expanding without just adding more listings, right? What is next? I saw you've added things that aren't cars.
Here and there.
Rare sets of wheels or engines on stands or something like that. Is that gone well?
That has gone better than I thought it would, honestly. We were like, let's just kind of mess around and see what happens, right? A guy submitted a set of wire wheels off a V12 Ferrari, right? Like an interesting, those are cool, right? I don't know what those are worth, but let's see what happens, right?
I bet you they're worth a fucking ton of money.
Auction's great for that. The commenting community is super interesting for that because if you just buy those off Craigslist or eBay or wherever, Ferrari forum, then, I mean, who knows, right? But we got guys in, they're like, I have the same wheels on my car, here's what you need to look for, here's what the stampings mean, like that. So for special parts, I mean, we're not ever going to be mass market, like start selling new water pumps or whatever. Like that's where eBay's gone, right? Like you log in there and it's like, here's 87, versions of the same, water hose, and
that's fine.
Like, I'm out.
That can be okay.
It is, but it's sort of more Amazon than like a curated experience, right?
Yeah, but for this, it's like now you're not just looking for a guy who might want a V12 Ferrari.
Yeah,
you're looking for a guy who's already got one and wants a set of wheels. Like, you got to really narrow down that audience.
It's pretty narrow. So the parts ones have been interesting. We sold 427 Ford
I saw the
V8,
side oiler,
which was
right?
cool.
What did that go for?
Yeah, a few grand, and it needed some work. It went for a few grand, which was a fair amount. And then Fuchs wheels, people's are nuts for, right?
That's probably the easiest parts to sell ever are a set of Fuchs wheels.
Yeah, I think so.
That's going to go in
and they can be presented well, right? And people take good pictures. So what we're trying to do is
BBS basket weaves.
Totally. We're trying to set the bar high for presentation. Like, when you trip across a really good listing somewhere else and it's like a total outlier and it's like, wow, this is amazing. Yeah. But I had to look through 700 of them before I found this, right? So if every one of ours is like that, then we think actually boats are cool.
Boats are good.
And
you need a trailer
for
You need a trailer for boats. It fits the theme.
And
airplanes.
Different sorts of. I mean, I think we've actually listed
Didn't
one.
you do a Cessna or something? I think there was
but,
one. Yeah.
Half of it is just us kind of spitballing, frankly, and like, let's try it, right? I mean, we don't arbitrarily need to say no to things. We just need to be. The way BAT got to be so cool is experimentation, right?
About watches. Car guys like watches. You buy watches. That could be a thing, right?
Yeah, that could be
a whole other side business.
It could potentially. Yeah, I know you're getting deep into the watch world.
It's way easier to buy a bunch of them than it is cars.
That's true.
You don't have to deal with California smog.
There you go. Yeah.
No, it's a deep, dark rabbit hole, just like cars. But have you ever thought about doing an in-person in-person auction, like an actual live event?
We've been asked about that, and
piggyback somebody else,
for a
maybe?
long time we were like, no live events. Like we're digital, let's grow it.
Well,
let's do
taking
this.
something global and making it into something local is very, very different.
Super different.
Yeah.
So we actually we're starting to do events where we engage our community in a live space. So that's actually the first step. Would we ever want
Not the drives you're talking about? Or the...
No, we just did something called the Alumni Gathering. So we emailed everybody that had bought a BAT car within 3 hours of San Francisco and said, hey, we want to get you here. And we gave them gifts and we had free food and whatever.
Cool.
We met at this cool sort of industrial environment here in San Francisco. And we got we're like, maybe we can get 50 cars to come out or whatever. We got 100 BAT alumni cars all lined up.
Wow, how
and
cool
it's
is that?
And it's wacky, right? It's like the pickup truck parked next to the British car parked next to the 99 7 GT3, whatever, blah, blah, blah. So it was crazy, but everybody was stoked and the energy was good. So we're going to do one of those in LA this year. We're going to do one we're going to the Midi at Road Atlanta. We're going to do one there.
Great. Make sure you invite me for the LA one. That sounds fun.
Yeah, but then we haven't done live sales, but at different events, people tend to bring out a car that's live on BAT. We did that at a couple shows in LA last year. So
is there a lowrider convention as well?
I actually know who that is.
Oh, okay.
He doesn't know that we're recording, but we can give him trouble for that after this airs.
Is that a rotary?
That was a vintage BMW sedan with a kook driving it. So we anyway, we're doing those events, and I think cars that are listed live will show up at those events. But will we ever put up a Meekum tent and like start rolling them across, like that sort of vibe? Frankly, it costs a ton of money, so they have to have huge fees to do that. Yeah. But it's also the reputation that world has is not sparkling always, I think, right? I mean, there's a lot of underworld sort of behind the scenes, different stuff going on.
Every time I go to an auction, I hear a story that I can't believe. I mean, really, right? Yeah. Every time you go to one in person, you go, no,
that happens? Yeah, totally. And you know, the credibility and different sorts of things are a lot of the reason we started what we did, right? Yeah. To kind of be like, there's a better way. So I don't think we're like hustling to get into that universe. We're like trying to still build up and spread the word that there's a different way to do it than that.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Do we have a lot of...
Oh, yeah?
Well, a lot of people think that you're a prophet of car values or ask questions as if you are a prophet of car values. So, let's just go through some of these.
Cool, I love it. Q&A.
I have not previewed.
Let's do it.
Will the Mazda Speed 6 ever be worth anything? Limited production numbers. Its depreciation currently is abysmal.
Yeah. Mazda Speed cars, I think are cool. We've listed a few on BAT. I don't know if we've listed a 6 sedan.
I've seen some Miatas, but that's
ton of Miatas. We have really good results with Miatas, low mile Miatas, and then there's obviously the Mazda Speed Miata. We've listed those, and then Mazda Speed 3, and you could tell me better than I know which other models Mazda Speed messes with, but I don't know if we've had an RX-8 or different sorts of stuff on the site. But I think
any RX-8s.
I don't know, but if. Interestingly, talking about this stuff, like modern cars, people early on were like, BAT's a classic car site, right? And then I've always sort of pushed the Integrale, the E28, like more modern cars. This isn't only about 60s Mustangs.
You know that car's like 30 years old, right?
It's old. It's old. I get it.
30-year-old car.
No, but even older than that, like when we started BAT, like a lot of people were really protective and like, this is about vintage alpha only sort of stuff, right?
How annoyed do you get when someone tries to tell you what your shit is about?
That happens. Oh. That happens from time to time. But
I call that the Insta-block. That person doesn't get to talk anymore. When I post a picture of a watch or a pie that I've baked on Instagram and someone's like, this page is about cars, block. You don't get to talk anymore.
But even 90s cars, man. I mean, when I would list like an interesting Group B car or something in Europe or E30 M3s or whatever, people would be like, stick to the classics, right? And I've always pushed it. I mean, my dream cars span all sorts of years. But
in this garage, we have an FJ, a 356, an Alpha sedan, the model of which I cannot edit. Is it a Giulietta?
Giulietta.
It's a Giulietta? Okay. 535 E28 BMW and a Delta Integrale 16 valve. Not a bad selection. Oh, Evo. Yeah. Excuse me, it's an Evo. Yeah, one or two?
It does have 16 valves.
Evo 1
but
or
it's
two?
An Evo 1.
Evo 1.
Yeah.
It's gangster. So, it's lovely.
Yeah.
So with modern cars,
So modern car, I mean, like a
really
Mazda
modern
6 is like super modern. But look, if you look on BAT, I mean, special modern cars are doing really well. So you can do like a Cayman GT4. We've sold a bunch of them. Like
Cayman
AMG
GT4s out.
AMG SLSs, like we're selling now,
What's
right?
going
Which
on
is
with SLSs?
crazy.
Is it the doors? Is that why the doors are going?
I think that's a cool car. I mean, I'm not going to roll around that with a daily, but I mean, it's
and now they're back up.
Yeah.
And
so,
by the way, why are SLRs selling for $400,000? What happened?
I don't like those
Hell hath
myself.
frozen over.
But
You
I
drive
like
one?
no. You get to drive all the fancy stuff, man. I drive.
SLRs,
This is fancy to me.
SLRs
right
are
here.
terrible.
Is that right?
No, you don't want to drive with it.
So anyhow, but modern, back to the Mazda, I mean, modern stuff works really well on BAT. It turns out, we didn't know it would, but it turns out special ones. So if this, I don't think it's now, but if in some years a Mazda Speed 6 is super low mile and cool colors, and the Mazda fanboy of all fanboys owned it and took care of it, and now it's the only one for sale. Will that be worth some money? Is it going to be worth $100,000? Nope.
No.
But is it going to be worth MSRP?
Yeah, maybe.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Right.
I've driven a few Mazda Speed 6s, and they are lovely to drive. And they are, if you wanted like a rally car kind of thing, like an STI or Evo, and you were never going to go to the racetrack, and you were honest with yourself about that, the Mazda Speed 6 is a great daily driver that is of that kind of genre. But I mean, it's going to be a long time before those
It'll
start
be a little
going
while,
up. Yeah. What do you think will be the next bubble? Muscle Cars had theirs back in 07, 08, and I think we're on the backside of the Porsche bubble now. What could be next? Maybe 90s Japanese sports cars?
So that's a good question. And people speculate on different stuff all the time. People ask me, and first of all, you said I'm like the prophet for car values.
Yeah.
I'm very much not, right? I mean, I see BAT and what's going across. I'm really close to a lot of the data, but my team here like is a vet all the cars and knows a lot. So it's not like the Randy show on car values. You know what I mean? So these are sort of my anecdotal responses, but I love talking about it. It's a ton of fun to talk about. So the bubble, yeah, everybody saw Porsches run up and pull back, like you said. People saw.
I wouldn't call it a bubble burst, though. I would call it a slight
simmer
retraction.
down,
Yeah,
right?
Yeah.
I mean, stuff is still expensive, like we were talking about, and 912s are on the way up instead of down. So things are different models are going up at different rates, and trying to pick the next one is fun. We talked about ITRs earlier. I think those are going to be valuable. We're listing Civic Si on the site with 10,000 miles. You see that go live yesterday?
That. Yeah, the 2000 Civic Si.
That'll go for a bunch of money,
Those are
right?
really nice
so
little
Japanese 80s, 90s preserved sports models are going to go well.
Right.
There's not as many American cars in that camp, right? Like, are you going to speculate on a Hellcat? I don't think that's a smart move.
No, I don't think
there's too many
either.
of them, and people are just kind of, you know, not really knowing where those are going to go.
Yeah,
but
I think you could speculate possibly on a GT350 R.
Yeah, that kind of stuff.
You could now would be the time to get a 5th gen Z28 without air conditioning.
Right.
You could pick up one of those in like the low 40s, and that's a fast car.
Yeah.
And nobody wants the ones without air conditioning. And in 50 years, they all will.
The cars that were built after 2000 that were really well taken care of and are low mile are drying up. Nobody has those, right? Those are rare. So those models aren't rare based on production numbers. They're rare based on condition.
Yeah.
So if you find the E28 with no miles on it that's in perfect shape, I mean, it goes for crazy money, right?
Even if it's like an E or
even
one
if
that
it's
no one
mellow,
cares.
it could be, So mileage and condition on modern cars, and then on classics, meaning cars older than 1990, I think that there will be room for European unusual stuff that hits the 25-year rule. There will
That's
be
what I
room.
think is under. I think everyone looks at Japan so much for the 25-year thing and skylines and that kind of stuff. That there are some real gems in Europe. That are 25 years old that people are not really seeing. Although I think Integrales are gone. Right?
People have started. Well, I mean, the dealer pricing, people put it in their dealer and charge $100,000 for it when it's a $40,000 car, right? So I don't know. It's a little
$40,000 driving experience for sure,
and more,
maybe more, maybe 50
in the U.S. since it's rare. It's even more. Right?
Do people recognize that car when they see it or not really?
There's people that know it immediately, and which is like 2% or less, and then the 98
either it's invisible or they follow you for 10 months,
or they're like, is that some weird WRX I didn't know about? Right? But some people know it.
Either with a Skyline, you're invisible, or you're their hero.
Totally.
And Have you driven a Skyline yet?
I've been in one. I've never driven.
They are lovely. They are such nice cars to drive, especially stock.
Yours was an R32 or
I had
34?
a bone stock R32,
32,
and
that's
it
right.
was absolutely lovely, and I doubled up in 6 months. And I was like, good.
Yeah.
And that was a year ago.
out. Yeah.
Well, that was a year ago, and now the cars that are that nice, I got this year's money last year.
Okay.
You know, the 34s are going to be where it's at. Though. They're going to be the huge. They're already huge money. The special edition 34s are they're already 150 grand.
That's
not even in the U.S. In Europe or wherever else.
Crazy.
Yeah, but
that stuff will be special, right?
A really good 34. It's like an $80,000 or $90,000 driving experience on its own, ignoring collectability. That's a fast, smooth, comfortable, really, really good car to drive. Yeah, better than a Supra. Let's see. Is the phenomenon of viewing cars as investments good for the enthusiasm of the automobile in general?
I think so. I mean, anybody who's psyched to get involved with cars and pursue car content that's online or on TV or on wherever. I mean, there's a lot of cheesy car stuff out there, as you well know. And speculators that are like full on Wall Street and don't care about the car at all and like buy it as an asset, like a gold bar, and like put it in some
seeing the funds now?
deal.
Do you get pitched on the funds?
I've heard of it, and I steer clear. I mean, that's not my universe. That's not why I'm into these cars.
Yeah.
I could invest a lot more wisely than these cars, frankly,
well,
if I really was into it.
You just want to have,
yeah,
which is me too. But I'm sure you get the pitches where it's I'm starting a hedge fund of cars, and do you want to invest or help or advise or whatever?
Totally,
that's a thing now.
It is.
Yeah,
it is, and. I don't think it's terrible for the car enthusiasts as a whole, but I don't think it's great. But any interest in particularly driving, like if they're not interested in driving these cars, and what you talk about is that a 90K driving experience.
Right.
That sort of mentality is what's going to keep these cars interesting for the long haul.
Right.
But just in looking at them as static objects, it's a little less than that. So I think, and in investment devices, when the market goes down, all those people leave and go find something else.
Right,
to
except
invest
for the
in,
very
right?
top tier cars, the Pebble Beach kind of cars, and there will be globally. We're also looking at a global market now, and so even if the value of the dollar goes down or our economy crashes, those cars could be nice assets for somebody in Dubai or for somebody in the UK who's having a stronger year or whatever. And now that you can buy and sell and ship globally without much headache, I think that sort of changes the collector car game, and actually I think it is a stabilizing force independent of local economies. Maybe. That's my speculation, but fuck do I know. We already answered this. Do you turn away people who have unrealistic reserve prices in mind? Yes, you do.
Yep.
You guys, they convinced me to drop my reserve by 40 grand, which resulted in me going into a panic for about 36 hours.
40?
No, I'm sorry, what did I say?
You said you reduced it by 40 grand. That sounds like a lot.
I apologize. Reduced it to 40 grand.
Okay, thank you.
From 45 grand.
Yes.
And the car.
But then what'd you end up getting?
Well, let's wait. The car went to 40,500 and sat there for 3 days while I sweated.
Yep.
And it ended up going for 57.
Okay.
So yes.
So it worked out.
I'm happy, but
you said at first they made me lower it by 40 grand. I was like, dude, that would have been cruel punishment.
That's what you lower the reserve of a Daytona by, not a stupid DeLorean. Let's see. Thoughts on the early Corvette market, C1 to C3. They're priced well and very low miles in some cases. Do you think they will ever go up a lot?
I think those cars are cool. I think they'll be stable, and they were really expensive for a while.
They had
early,
yeah.
And then they kind of simmered down, and now I think they're kind of where they belong. And frankly, I think they're kind of going to stay there, right? I think they're still cool.
Was your 63 a good investment in hindsight?
We again, I told you I invest terribly, and don't consult me for investment. Consult me for interesting cars, but not
mods on.
Yeah, we modded it, and I built the Corvette I wanted, right, which is not what the market wanted, right? It's still sold really well and was a cool car, but originality in vets is what brings big dough.
Right.
That was not what that was ever going to be. But the early ones, to this guy's question, are I think they're stable, and I think they're very cool. And I think compared to some other cars,
would you drop 50 on a C2, drive it around for a bit, and sell it?
I think they're
and
cool.
not lose money really.
Yeah, and the argument is more to park some dough in it, to get the one you want, to get to drive it, and almost maybe get to drive it for free if you can sell it what you bought it for, or maybe plus insurance plus whatever.
Yeah,
that's a pretty cool thing to do.
Yeah.
So I don't
Have
think
you driven all the early ones or just the C2?
I've driven a C1 and I've driven obviously my C2.
Yeah. Is the C1 worth driving at all? Are they any
I
good?
like the V8.
The later ones.
The
like
early came with a 6 in it, and those are really primitive.
Yeah.
But the earliest you can get, and with a V8, I actually think it's pretty cool.
Which is like a
single headlight.
57,
yeah, 57.8
right?
with a single headlight. I think actually those are pretty sick.
Yeah. All right. I've never driven one. I've only driven
primitive though. Man.
I drove the Art Morrison one, which was like 600 horsepower,
okay.
and it was not
different.
what those are like. Yeah.
Yeah.
I would love to have a go in a C1.
Yeah.
Anything you've seen go across your own auction block that you wanted to buy but didn't and have regrets about?
This is the whole joke, man. I mean, the whole reason BAT started was because I was sending links to buddies and I was looking at all these cars, but I can't buy them all. Particularly then, I was just like, I can't buy any. And I'm lucky now that we've amassed a couple of cars, which has been fun during the course of running the business. But almost every day something comes across, right? Yeah. Now we're lifting 25 cars a day. If you can't pick one that you dig, I'm doing something wrong, right? Mm-hmm. So, there's many. There's a better E28 than mine that's on the site right now that I wish was mine. There's, I'm into trucks, as you know, right?
Yeah.
I mean, there's all sorts of FJ stuff that comes across that I'm like, man, mine's still not running. Maybe I just maybe.
If you ever want out of that one, John Ward's got you covered. He'll snap that thing up real quick.
So anyway,
so yes, the answer is every day.
Every day stuff comes across.
We touched on this earlier. Will the Mazda RX-8 ever be worth anything?
Oh man!
Since there will probably never be another rotary sports car.
Yeah,
I say no.
I don't think so.
I say no. There's a lot of RX-7s out there, and the RX-7 is so much better, better looking, better driving.
But there's
faster.
Talking about cars coming up, right? I mean, an FD with no miles in white black.
Yeah,
if you find one of those, it's just like wow, that's
they're
a
worth
bunch
a lot
of dough,
money,
right?
Yeah. A friend of mine has a super fresh one with a blown engine, but the body and interior are like super mint.
Eventually, it will be worth rebuilding that engine. It may or may not be now.
Right now, it's sitting in his garage with this much dust on it. But just wait. That was that. You know what that was? That was Testarossas that needed a major like 7 years ago.
Totally.
Testarossas. I mean, where do they come from?
Yeah.
They're $150,000 now. They were sitting at $50 for a decade.
And 512 TRs running out.
TRs are gone. Right? Yeah, but BBIs have settled.
Mellower.
Yeah, I think people realize that they're not that good to drive either. Why does it seem like every car on Bring a Trailer is a dealer flip these days?
Oh,
my man is talking shit.
We track that and try to keep pace on how many cars are dealer cars versus private party cars. It's about a 60-40 split in favor of private party.
I didn't realize it was that many dealers.
40% is still a lot of dealers. At the beginning, there was a lot of anti-dealer, like don't list any dealer cars and that sort of thing. But here's the trick, right? Like if a dealer is willing. There's plenty of shady dealers out there, as we all know. But if a dealer is willing to go on BAT and have people comment with them and talk to them, that's a different breed of dealer. Because we've had some dealers that come and they're like, well, I'll list my car with you, but I turn off the comments. Let me do my normal game that I usually do. And it's like your commenters that you blast out of there. It's like, sorry, that doesn't work here. Right?
Either you're open about what the car is and isn't, or
So if a dealer can list the car on BAT, good presentation, answer all the questions, engage in the comments, and then has a track record that the buyer's stoked on the car, right? Like that's a very legit person to list cars on our site, right? So is it a dealer flip? Maybe.
But an auction's an auction.
Is it a good car?
Yeah.
Is it a good presentation? Is it something that we want on the site? Then green light.
And I think flipping gets a horrible reputation because like the guy wants to make money. Guess what? So does the private party guy buying the car. Yeah. That guy wants to turn a profit or break even or whatever. Yeah. I mean, my friends Doug and John at Switch Cars out of Ohio, they've sold a few cars.
Yeah,
I think they have a 360 with you right now.
Yeah.
Those are enthusiasts. You know, they're enthusiasts, and they decided to make cars their business, and they find, in my opinion, those guys find pretty good cars, and I help them find cars sometimes, and so I don't give it. Who cares if a dealer's doing it? I mean, unless they're being shady about it, whatever.
If you say like all dealers or all this or all that, if you make really broad statements like that, like all dealers are terrible, I don't think that's accurate, right? But I think that accurate. Many are terrible. I'd probably agree with you, right? But thankfully, we've surfaced a bunch of good dealers that are selling well, and we keep close tabs on how they're doing, and so I think that's great.
This question, actually, I'm glad this commenter brought it up because I was going to ask you earlier today and forgot about it. Any plans for a Bring a Trailer escrow service to protect buyers and sellers? Do you want to be the bank?
There are reasons to be the bank. There are reasons not to be the bank, right? So we've weighed those pretty carefully, but we're investigating additional services that we could offer, right?
Yeah.
I mean, there's
Do you want to do Bring a Trailer financing?
It's an option, right? I mean, everything's an option, right? But there are trade-offs, right? I mean, there's
buy here, pay here.
Well, there's regulation. There's all sorts of things, right? So we'd have to be careful. If we did it, we would do it in a really careful way that is customized for our. You don't want to just take like what some other website's doing and just slap it on to BAT, right? You want to make it special. So so it could be a possibility down the road, but no.
Bring a trailer and a credit report.
There you go.
Let's see. What cars are you surprised aren't worth more money? So where is the driving value right now? Where can you spend not a lot of money and get a great driving car?
On vintage stuff, I think 240Zs are still super cool.
They're fun to drive.
And you can still get them for a really good one for 15 to 20K, right? And they're fun, 6-cylinder power. I think that, let's see, what other cars?
I think non-numbers matching E-types.
Like take the discount on non-numbers matching?
Take the discount on non-numbers matching and get yourself a 4-speed 4.2 or 3.8 E-type.
Yep.
And that's a really nice thing.
Yep.
And that'll be $45,000 forever.
Yep.
And it'll look just like the one that's 100. There's no difference.
Yeah. No, that's a good call. I mean, there's a lot of cars in that camp. You know, a lot of Mercedes are fairly cheap, actually.
Dude, 90s SLs the bottom seems to have fallen out of them. I bought one, and then all the 90s ones tanked. I hope my 01 isn't going to tank.
Those cars aren't that expensive, at least to get into. I don't know about maintenance, but to get into them. The
500s are not bad to maintain.
It's not bad,
the 600s have a lot of unique parts and a lot of unique parts maintenance items that are significantly more expensive than the 500s. The 500s are easy as pie. I love my 500.
And Mercedes is probably the best brand there is in terms of supporting parts for older cars, older models, right?
Yeah.
My 60s Mercedes, like I could go to the dealer and buy whatever I needed. It's crazy.
Apparently it's tough to find interior trim bits for the SLs.
That could be.
But mine is good enough that it's not a concern for me. But I hope that, I mean, I got mine for like 16 grand. I hope that's the bottom for a car like that. I got a really nice one. I didn't.
Silver or black?
Silver, sport pack, hard top,
Yeah.
55,000 miles, one owner before me.
See,
Lovely car.
If you put on 10K miles over the next however many years you keep it, if you're even going to do that.
3,000 a year, maybe.
Yeah, then it's still going to be a low mile car, and I think it'll be stable if
I just don't want to lose any money on it. It's great. It's a traffic car. It's great. I sit in traffic, and it's awesome.
I think they're cool.
It's awesome. Anything else? What else? Where else does your money go a long way in driving experience? 510s?
510s are super cool.
E30s, 325.
I mean, yeah, you can get into the volume, 80s German cars. There's tons of interesting stuff there.
Even though E30s are up from where they were, I think, 10 or 15 grand into a really well-sorted E30 is going to be a fun driving experience.
But where are you on the controversial 996 coupe world for 20 grand?
My problem with 996s is that they're the worst Porsche.
They are. To me too.
If what you want is a Porsche, then yes, that is a Porsche.
But we're talking value here. I mean, 20 grand, you get a flat six, and you're out.
For 20 grand, it's a pretty cool car.
It's crazy,
for 20.
right?
It's
a couple have come
car.
across BAT, and people, there's a buyer and there's an enthusiast circle that they're not going to spend 100 grand on the next whatever.
I've done videos with college kids who drive 996s
which
and
is
are happy
crazy,
with them.
Which is crazy, but no, that's legit.
And
right?
I'm not.
What can you get new for 20 grand?
Nothing good.
Nothing.
I personally don't love how they drive. I think their inputs are a little weird compared to the other 911s.
I agree.
It's just me.
Yeah.
Just you two, I guess. But fuck, you know what? For 20 grand,
So when you're talking values, yeah, there's interesting stuff. You can still have.
I think last gen Caymans are a great value.
Totally.
981 Caymans, 987 Caymans. Those are a really good value too.
Yeah.
SLs. Someone wants to know about Benzes. R129 versus R107. What's the R107?
R107 is the one that ran for like 25 years.
Oh,
560
before.
SL,
The
560
yeah,
SL, and started in 72, I think.
Yeah, and then
or
went
70.
until like 88 or 89.
Yeah,
right?
went really long.
Forever.
Yeah.
What's your opinion on that?
R107s, we see low mile. Again, this is a car that was produced in a zillion numbers and a ton of different options.
Bought by a lot of
and
old people who didn't drive them very far.
parked them in their second house or whatever.
Are 129s as well. You see a ton of low mile ones bought by retirees.
So I think the later ones will follow the earlier trend, which is exactly what I've been, beating the drum I've been beating on, which is low mile clean ones will keep their money. Beaten old one, don't ever restore one. Throw it away and get another one.
Really?
Don't ever. Restoring them is so. Unless it's like a factory race car or the best one that was owned by someone special or something. If the best car in the world is 50 grand, like you're going to spend that much to restore it in like the first half, right?
Yeah.
So just like unload, find which one you want and buy the best one you can get. And so I think the later ones will follow the earlier trend, which is the crappy ones are just you're not gonna see them on the road. They're gonna disappear. I don't know where they go, but they go somewhere. And then the nice ones
Africa
are gonna, sit around and simmer around and start transacting at auctions and be rarities instead of in the olden days. When I was riding my bike to junior high, like a 560 SL would just kind of cruise by. It was some lady driving it. Who knows?
Well, now what I see in LA is it is the car of choice for hipsters. Huge hipster following.
80s Benz.
80s Benz is, it's the Volvo 240, it's a 190E, it's a 300D, and it's an 80s SL.
Yeah.
And you can tell, young guy, Apple earbuds, they've always got the Apple earbuds in, with a Deus sweater, and that's the style. That's LA right now.
That's funny.
They're all maroon or pale yellow or champagne, right?
Oh man, I hated all those colors then. Yeah.
Here's an interesting one. Sell or keep a C5 Z06 with less than 50,000 miles.
Dude, you can answer that better than me, man. Right? I think there's buyers that want those. I don't think that's ever a get rich off of it car.
No.
But I think that's a fun car to drive for what they're worth, right?
Yeah.
Good motor.
It's a good. It goes into the value column.
Yeah,
for sure.
Totally. What's that car worth?
20.
Yeah.
So Jack Baruth wrote a great editorial about C5s that are like the cars that are never bought, sold, or driven, and it's like every one of them is super clean and has no miles. That's just how they were.
Yeah.
And I think if you can get a set of brake pads and fluid and a set of Hoosiers and show up at a track day and be the second fastest guy there for 20 grand.
That's pretty cool.
And the only guy that beat you has spent 150. So there's that. But, the build quality is fucking abysmal.
Daily? Could you daily one of those ever? No chance, right?
It depends. How bothered are you by rattles in your car?
Yeah.
If you're not bothered, go out and have fun and beat the piss out of it and treat it as disposable. But if you are bothered by rattles, you'll be hanging yourself by the third mile in one of those cars. It's just the way to go. Oh man! Well, thanks for having me, Randy. This was fun.
No problem. I love it. I'll talk about cars whenever you want, man.
What's coming up? Anything worth promoting?
Like I said, we're going to start doing these events. We're going to do one in LA. Location is just coming together, so I won't share that yet. But LA is a good. I'd love to invite you.
I will be there.
That'd be fun.
And we can promote it on the show.
We give kind of priority parking for people who bought their car in BAT, and then for all our staff and friends and everybody else.
Well,
we'll sneak you in some way.
You
You're on one of those bird scooters in Santa Monica?
Have you seen the birds?
I have.
It's crazy.
I haven't seen you on one.
I ride them.
Do you?
Yes, I do.
Awesome.
I absolutely do. They're very convenient.
You said scooter. I presume you mean like a motor scooter.
Yeah, I have a Yamaha Zuma.
You do?
It's the best.
Cool.
It's absolutely the best. I will come to your event.
So anyway, we got those going, and then new features are being released on the site in terms of different stuff. No escrow yet, but some other interesting things are coming.
I don't know what it's like to be the bank, but I don't think I want that kind of headaches.
A lot of other headaches. So,
Yeah.
but yeah. Anyway, lots of cool stuff coming. Totally appreciate you being here and talking about it.
Dude, I'm glad I
and,
can make it. And I have to offer a formal apology because I accidentally ghosted you when you came to LA.
That happened.
And yes, you came to Los Angeles to be on my show. I don't even want to know. Did you only come to LA?
No. I was doing some other stuff
were
too,
doing
but
other
I was
stuff.
definitely outside your studio going like, is this the right studio? No, it was a bad night. It was a bad night.
Didn't make it on my calendar or
You were
something.
doing a TV thing that night? Or
I wasn't even in Los Angeles. I was gone. I was not in LA. It was horrible, and I felt so terrible about it for so long. I still feel bad about it now. But on the show, publicly, I apologize.
Hey, cool.
And
thanks.
we will definitely do it again when you come to LA for your event, and we'll promote that and everything. So, Randy Nonnenberg, Bring a Trailer, bringatrailer.com, Bring a Trailer on Twitter, Bring a Trailer on Instagram.
You bet.
Anything else?
Those are the good ones.
If you want to buy a car, sell a car, or really try and resist doing either of those things, Bring a Trailer is a place for you.